All right. So I thought for a minute we were going to get struck down by the YouTube overlords, but this one is actually working. We live. Welcome back to an Ask a Bro Range Day Bro show, whatever. We're still working on the name and all that. But while people join, I've been wanting to do this for a while. I did a kind of a test run on my first real live video to see how it would work. I've kind of learned it a little bit better. I got my nice camera hooked up. Hopefully you're hearing audio from this mic. It looks like it's all working. So with that being said, we're going to start with some hot takes just while we're waiting for the room to fill up and for people to start asking questions. Night vision is trash. I got some PVS 31 alphas. I begged, borrowed, stole, did everything I could to work to get those PVS 31 alphas. Went out hunting with some good old boys from the city of Parker up near north of Dallas, and they had some like cheap AGM thermals. And I know I'm talking about hunting specifically here, but they were spotting heat signatures like hundreds and hundreds of yards away with their very budget, still very expensive, but budget thermals. And meanwhile, I am literally looking at like gray and white mush sauce with like the best level night vision tubes I had, and an illuminator, Surefire Vampire Mini, and these Steiner CQBL. So yeah, it was like literally, what did I pay? Almost $14,000 for it. It was insane. But looks like we got some people joining in. Taurus G3 Aruga Security now for beginner gun. Okay, I got zero experience with either of those guns, and in fact, very little experience with Ruger at all. But I hear their bolt action guns are cool. But Ruger and Taurus are both in the category. I would say, I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. If it's the only gun you can afford, okay. But there's really great options that aren't that much more expensive than those guns. And if you're carrying it every single day, I would just go with somebody else, and not even being brand specific, just like one of the more reputable, like a Glock, CZ, HK, FN, Sig. Sig, it's a questionable one now, but any of those more, just like slightly like one click higher. I mean, I think I've seen some Taurus pistols go for like 250s, 300s, like a used Glock. Like if you go to like a Blue Label place that has like trade-ins, they're perfectly fine. Most of them never even came out of the holster, and they're around that $300-$350 mark, and they're like, again, in pretty new condition. So I don't want to be the Glock fanboy here. I'm definitely a Glock fanboy though, so I'm guilty of that. What's up? Hope you're doing well. Thanks, Martin. I am doing well. Appreciate you. Thermal's a new way to go out here. Definitely a hot take. Yeah, I mean, I'm being honest right now. I have some things in the works. Nothing's 100% yet, but I'm working with some companies with some, so four of the biggest challenges I've had since the start of the channel. Number one was a range. It's always been a range to where I can go and shoot on my own time. Although the folks at RPR have been amazing, I've worked with the folks over at Sportsman's Finest to get into hog heaven. I have a buddy now who's got a 130-acre ranch about 25 minutes from my house. So coordinating with him, all that has become much better. The other two things that haven't gotten better though is ammunition. Someone supplying ammunition for the channel, because that all comes out of my pocket. So that gets very expensive. And then glass. And so again, without diving too far into the details, I've kind of been hinting at it. If you follow my Instagram page and all that, you've probably seen some stuff. Probably can take a guess as who it is. As far as getting some good glass that is still relatively affordable, and then putting the extra money that I would have spent on a Night Force Attacker towards a clip-on thermal device. And I'm just like, I don't see that. I see that as a win-win-win. And we're going to talk more about that as I get into with that company. I get more experience with them. I really don't like to talk about much on the channel. This is something I wanted to ask you guys about. How important is it for me to have long-term evidence or long-term experience with the product before I come here and talk about it? Because that's something I struggle with. Usually I require myself to have at least, there's a standard. It's different for depending on the product, obviously, if it's a suppressor or if it's a rifle or if it's a optic. But are you guys cool with like, hey, this is my first look? Or are those videos like really annoying because it doesn't really give you much? Because that's kind of how I feel when I make those videos. Like, I don't know, this first look, like it's generally information that you can find anywhere. Love your videos. Thank you, brother. Thank you, John. I gotta probably read these, keep up with these faster. Hog your guy. And I guess I could duck down so you guys could see the wall of guns behind me as I'm reading these instead of just the tip of my hat being in focus. Just did a bit on my experiences 11.5. How do you feel about the weight of it compared to your URGI? I just messaged somebody. Someone was messaging me on IG about this recently. So the URGI, so the Sig Spear LT is a total vibe, but honestly, unless you're running it full auto, which no civilians really are, unless you have an SOT, unless you're running it full auto, I would hope you're running an 11.5 full-time suppressed, so it does help a little bit with the suppressed use. But there's a ton of suppressors coming out now that are flow-through technology. As you guys know, I've started working for Eneric Armament recently, so let me just plug them. Big shout out to Energetic. They're my new employer. I'm running their YouTube channel. But a lot of suppressors, other companies like Huxworks and CAT have gone to these flow-through technologies, and Soundstrick has their version. But there's also companies like CAC Industries who I have a barrel from them I'm working on a review right now. It's a suppressed only barrel, so the gas block is intentionally left smaller so that it is, again, it is designed to be used primarily with suppression, so it won't actually cycle. It won't have enough gas to run reliably. Even with my Ferox, the Energetic Armament Ferox, which is it's not a true flow through design, or I think that's TM, right? So it's not a low back pressure can, but it has an expansion chamber in there to reduce back pressure, so on and so forth. But there's ways to get around the advantages that the Spear brings to the table. It does keep a lot of the heat away from you, but it adds that extra weight in the front end. So I was talking to someone, a subscriber to the channel. He messaged me on IG. Follow me over on IG. It's Range Day Bro as well. And he pretty much was just like, hey, for my wife, I like the Spear. What do you think about the Spear versus the URGI or the Super Duty? And I was like, straight up Super Duty all day. I like the barrel profile better. And for what a civilian is going to be using it for, which again, full auto should be legal. I truly believe that the NFA needs to be repealed and the ATF needs to be abolished, but that's just my humble opinion. So if full auto was legal like it should be, then absolutely, like I think the Spear has an advantage with that full auto application. But for a shorty suppress in the home, especially something to keep it lightweight so your spouse can use it, I just think I think the URGI or the Super Duties particularly, it's just the Spear doesn't do enough better than it to justify having to buy a whole new rifle, because most of the time, again, you can buy an upper and put it on an SBR lower, put on a pistol lower you have at home already. So again, just for cost purposes and performance wise, I mean, it didn't see any better accuracy, didn't see any better reliability. I mean, they both were stellar on reliability. The URGI and the Super Duty are actually slightly better from what I can remember on the accuracy portion for both being 11.5s. So yeah, take that with a grain of salt. Take that for whatever it's worth. Let's see here. I'm gonna go back. I'm trying to read through a lot of these comments, guys. Appreciate the comments, by the way. Striker fired pistols. CZ Striker fire pistols seem a lot better than Glock, aside from its reputation. I mean, I'll be really quick on this. Zero experience with CZ firearms. I know a ton of guys who run the Shadow 2 specifically for competitions. I don't know a lot of guys who carry the P10C. Again, it's one of those things, like it's not that much cheaper. I don't think it might be the same price. I think it's slightly cheaper than the Glock is. I felt the triggers in a gun shop. I've never actually shot it. So for full disclosure, I don't have a lot of experience to talk about it. But again, when I'm buying a Glock, I made a Glock video recently, Glock Supremacy. What I meant to really say that I didn't say in that video was that when you pay for Glock, you're paying for the reputation. You are paying for the name, but what comes with that is the confidence. And if I had started with the CZ and I had as many rounds on a CZ that I do have on my Glocks, I'd probably feel the same way about CZ. But it's just we are creatures of habit. We are, human beings. We like what we like. I don't want to go. I'm not going to go to work and pick up a tool I've never used before just to try it out because this one hammer over here, like, oh, it's just old hammer. Like, no, I'm going to keep using the same hammer that's worked over and over and over and over again for me. And there are a ton of things you can do aftermarket with them. I know it requires, everyone's like buys Glock and then changes everything on it. Yeah, well, that's kind of the fun part too. Like, if you can't tell, like a lot of my ARs, a lot of my guns, they come out of the box and they get immediate modifications. Like, because I've done a lot of research on the topic before I buy something. So like the Scarburator, for instance, that was one thing I didn't actually change out of the box, and it destroyed my rear receiver plate at the time. But that's a whole other story. But yeah, there's a ton of guns that I get that come out of the box and they immediately get modified. Like something gets swapped on them, or multiple things in some cases. So got a little bit off in the weeds there with that. Are the pros of a flow through suppressor worth the cons, it being loud? All right, controversial take for my new employer, maybe, but they hired me because they knew I was going to be honest with everything. So I don't think that new flow through cans that I have experience with, so particularly Huxworks, I don't think they're that much louder to the shooter or someone behind the shooter, but I definitely think that they are louder, like if you're downrange. But again, I'm not going downrange and recording. Also, my whole perspective on that is like, if you hit your target, then they're not going to hear the shot anyways. I know that's a terrible, terrible way to say it, but we're just gonna go through. I'm gonna try to hit as many of these as I can, guys. I found I used Gen 3 Glock for $4.99, but I'm poor. Yeah, I feel you, bro. Let's see here. What are the comments? Chris Savage. Wow, that just popped up. Thank you very much for that that comment, bro. Showing growing products is products you're into is fantastic. Stop reading so much into it. It's all about the experience you provide your audience. It's all about authenticity. Yeah, that's what I try to do, man. I really do, because I was literally the guy sitting on the other side of the camera for a very long time. It was actually took like 2.5 years. I really wanted to start my channel back in like 2019, right before the whole COVID thing kicked off. Had moved to Texas, really got into building guns and really kind of dove into it. When prior I was just like, I would say the average gun owner, which is like had my gun, took it to the range once, probably once a quarter, maybe like 4 or 5 times a year with my buddies, and or like took it to my friend's farm when I lived back in Ohio. And so, yeah, I think it was like more like the average gun owner. And so I started the channel because I was just spending all my time. I didn't watch cable. I didn't watch movies or shows on Netflix. I was watching 1911 Syndicate. I was watching Garand Thumb. I was watching all these guys on YouTube like Brass Facts and Hop, all these guys who I can't believe my channel is even close to the size of some of these channels. In some cases, like Focus Trip, it's actually bigger, which is mind blowing. But yeah, I was just sitting there watching all these guys and determining, okay, I have a fixed income. What is going to be the best thing I can spend my money on that's going to last, right? So that's what it's all about for me, man. Yeah, there you go. If you hit your shot, you'll never know. Yeah, sounds about right. Double tap. So let's see here. In regards to experience, already have a friend. You got it. Glocks tend to have the aftermarket support too. Yeah, I don't know about Glock's customer service department. It says Glock doesn't even have a customer service department worth mentioning. Love my 11.5 Daniel Defense with the rail, but I really want the 11.5 Geisley also, though. All right, listen, I've somehow become the 11.5 guy, so I guess I'll talk about this. 11.5 is awesome, dude. I think it is a great balance between velocity and just it still being short enough and compact enough. Couple it with a good, like, medium-sized suppressor, like RC2 or smaller, I would say. So like the Eneric Armament Lux is a perfect example. I think that can is like really well balanced as far as the weight and the size, and just the performance. Like, it's not the quietest can in the world. It's not the lightest can in the world. It's not the heaviest. It's not the least flash, but it does everything very well, especially for the size that it's at. And that thing on the 11.5 direct thread, which I've been leaning more and more. The more I kind of learn about suppressors, the more I lean direct thread, especially because if you're telling yourself you're only have one can, you're lying to yourself. I know there's a ton of really good, and I want to get more experience with a lot of these really good QD suppressor QD methods out there in the market. But like, for the most part, I'm running one can for one gun these days, and I want to do that more often. I just have a lot of Surefire muzzle devices pin and welded on my guns, which is really annoying. The pin and weld is like epic as it is, and how great it is at avoiding the stamp. It's super annoying because you're stuck with whatever that mounting device is, or that suppressor in that case, because I don't think anyone makes an adapter for the Surefire stuff, which I know there was at one point, but we don't have to get into the weeds. Okay, let's see what we got here. 14.5, AR-10, and 308. Thoughts? Okay, I got a buddy who just had D. Wilson Manufacturing cut down a LMT. I don't know. It's not like Spec War or whatever, like their full ambi one is, but it's like the step down, but it's the same exact upper, just a little bit of a different lower. He bought a Ballistic Advantage 6.5 Creedmoor barrel, sent it off to D. Wilson, had them cut it down and like modify it, whatever he had to do to modify it to make it fit the LMT upper. And excuse me, he was chronowing it, and it was chronowing like something like insane. I think he said it was staying supersonic. I forget exactly what it was, but perfect out of water, perfect timing. I forget what the exact stats were, but it was impressive. So if you're going to go for like a shorty, I would say if you have the option of a 6.5, I think it would perform better from what I've heard. I mean, again, 308, 308. I don't have any 6.5 Creedmoor guns, like, period. I do have a new 7mm PRC from Springfield, which is an awesome little shooter. I learned a lot about that, and if anyone's interested, we could talk about it tonight. But I also am going to be putting out a full review on that soon. So thinking about getting a new BNT SRBS. I have no idea what that is, but I like BNT stuff. I'm not really plugged into their stuff. I don't own any of their rifles. 2 rifles are BCM Mark II 14.5 and a DD 11.5. Just set up the way I like them, and I run RC2 on both of them. Yeah, RC2 is a great can. I think it's a great do-it-all suppressor. It's extremely, robust and battle proven. It's been around for forever. I've never had an issue with mine. Never had to shoot mine off, luckily. Let's see. Thinking about, okay, I already read that one. Got a brand new Sig Spear LT 300 Blackout. Trigger hammer won't release under 100 rounds. Really? So you have a trigger issue? Not a gunsmith, but I have one back here. Great time to segue. Where's it at? It's over here somewhere. There it is. I just got to figure out which way to point out to it on the camera. Not a lot of handle anything on camera, I don't believe, during live. So you just have to look at it from back there. It is featuring a Vox K2, Vox Mini, or Vox K2 is what it's called, actually. Vox K2, dude, that can and that gun are such a vibe together. I haven't shot it yet with that. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that performs with supers and subs. Getting into it, not a gunsmith, but good segue into shouting out Brownell's, the biggest sponsor of the channel. They did provide that rifle to me, or pistol, 6 months ago, and I am still working on a review because I had such a good impression, I think, with that Spear LT 5.56 video. I have probably close to 1,200 rounds of 300 Blackout, which is a ton of 300 Blackout for the prices I have to buy it at. It's like crazy expensive. But there's always like a new suppressor I want to try on it before I come out with a review, especially now since I have the Eneric Armament briefcase of goodness with all of their cans in it. So there's a ton of new suppressors that I have at my disposal that I want to try out with that gun, but I've had no issues with it. That was a long way to say I'm sorry that you're having issues with it. I've had none. What's your favorite rail, brother? Might have missed it. So my favorite rail, like favorite handguard for a gun, is hands down Geisley. I mean, if you take a look back here, besides the Scar 17 up there, where's that? Over there. Besides the Scar 17, it has the KDG rail, obviously, but everything else I believe is Geisley in this whole, besides the Sig Spears, obviously. But yeah, so the Marks, so it started as the Mark IV. I love the Geisley Mark IV originally. That's that one that has the crucifix shape, much like the Mark VIII, but it has four at 12, 6, 3, and 9. It had the Picatinny rail sections at the front of the rail, which is like the perfect place to have them because that's where you're mounting your lights and all that stuff. So or like a bipod, like the front of the rail, you're not going to mount a vertical foregrip, obviously. Maybe a hand stop if it's a shorter rail, but you're going to mount a bipod. So I really like that one to begin with. And then aesthetically, I just grew to like the Mark VIII better, which is the exact same rail, just missing those Picatinny rail sections at the front. And then, so if I'm doing a build on my own, typically that's the rail I go for. That was the rail I had in my Mark 12. I've had that rail in a bunch of builds, actually. But now that the URGI is out, that whole vibe, it kind of really sucked me in and like captivated me. I really like the Mark 16 rail. I know people will say it's bendy boy, bendy bill, whatever they want to call it. I'm not out there like beating my guns against trees, like trying to chop a tree down with the stock of my gun, but I'm also not like super nice on them. I throw them in the bed of my truck. They get tossed around a lot. They fall over a lot. I'm usually like juggling 3 guns out of the case. They're all cleared, obviously, but like I'm usually like moving a lot at one time, or they're getting thrown into one bag and just getting stacked on each other. So I'm not nice with them, and they last really well. So appreciate that, Prep Father. Good looking out, brother. Thank you. Actually, I have a Sig lower from an older gun. It's actually a partial AMV, so and bolt release. Arrow lower my DD. Okay, this has nothing to do with your comment, Martin, so I apologize, but it's honestly, lowers don't matter. Like I tell people this all the time, and maybe I'm wrong. Someone prove me wrong in the comments. Lowers don't matter nearly as much as uppers matter, because the lower is just holding the trigger and the buffer tube in place, which is like where all the action's happening as far as the lower goes. I tell people all the time, like buy a cheap lower. Maybe you don't want to go like poverty pony cheap, but like Arrow Precision, like a Blem Arrow Precision lower, great. You know what I mean? And maybe that's not a good example because they're not really cheap, I guess. But like you can find them on sale. Don't buy anything. Don't buy anything full price. Always wait till a Blem sale or like a Black Friday sale, especially with Geisley. They go nuts on Black Friday and like all these big holidays and stuff. So, so yeah, I mean, that the lower doesn't matter. I tell people all the time, get a cheap lower, Arrow Precision, or otherwise like Arrow, because it's like already got a somewhat flared magwell, a threaded bolt catch and bolt release, which is nice if you don't have the punches you need to install stuff on a lower like that. So that's really nice. But yeah, let me see if I got some questions that I missed. Let's see here. Brand new Sig Spear LT, got that one already. Yeah, I mean, I think I covered most of the questions so far. I guess I'll talk about the 11.5 CAC and the experience I had with that. So, CAC Industries, KAK, not KAC, sent me a downward venting BCG with sand cutters on it, a chrome BCG, really nice. Got dual ejectors on it, or dual ejectors on it. I always get the ejectors and the extractors confused. Dual ejectors on it. It was shooting phenomenally well with my Mark 18. I'll be flat out. CAC, I love you guys, but I don't know if it was enough of a noticeable difference for the downward venting to justify selling or getting rid of or putting in a drawer your BCM, your Daniel Defense, your Sons of Liberty, or your Geisley, whatever, and insert your go-to BCG here. I don't know if it was good enough of a gas reduction to go put those in a drawer and buy one, but if you're starting a new build, 100%, I would recommend it purely because so far, again, not like tens of thousands of rounds through it, but close to about 1,000 rounds through that thing. So far, completely reliable. The ejection pattern is perfect. I mean, literally, with Daniel Defense's own BCG, my Mark 18 upper and a Polonium K, it was ejecting between 1 o'clock right here at the front and 2 to 3 o'clock. But it was the brass was going somewhere different every time. There was no rhyme or reason. It was just brass would fly in any which direction in that general vicinity. You put the CAC Industries downward venting BCG in there, and then that brass was sitting in a pile about 8 inches apart from each other. It was crazy how reliable that BCG was. And now they sent me their H-bar profile, deep fluted 416R stainless steel barrel, suppressed only. So the gas block is like an inch or two away from the front of the barrel. So very little dwell time there. Also an undersized gas port because again, it's suppressed only. And it also is a 1 in 5 twist, which blows a lot of people's minds when I tell them, especially a lot of the shooters I know and that I shoot with. And I even asked them the same question, why a 1 in 5 twist? And their answer to me was like, oh, because that promotes yaw and tumble in the shorter barrel lengths, and it promotes a larger permanent wound cavity, which makes total sense. So far, pretty impressed. I shot one sub-inch group with some AAC 77 grain precision ammo, and then I shot one 1.08 inch group, so about 1 inch group with some Black Hills 223 77 grain OTMs, which the Black Hills, a lot of you might be surprised, is not nearly as consistent as a lot of people think it is. It's not nearly as good or close to hand loads as a lot of people think it is. Maybe there's an advantage to the Black Hills ammunition that I'm not aware of, but as far as accuracy goes, as far as consistency, when I got my Garmin from Brownells, again, big shout out to Brownells, use a link in the description, or RDB10 if it works for whatever you're trying to buy. But anyways, it's not as consistent. It's got a large spread, it's got a large standard deviation compared to even the AAC stuff, which a lot of people call garbage. And so it's like the company that's considered to be, this might be a hot take right here, but Black Hills is not even keeping up with AAC stuff. And I'm not a huge fan of AAC. I don't like their customer service. I've said that in the past. Maybe if I have another experience with them and I don't have to name drop my channel in order to get them to help me, then that'd be great. That'd be a great start for them. But let's see here. Does the finish on the BCG matter? I mean, yeah. I mean, the finish matters, right? Because that's a lot of, like, from what I understand about finishes, and I'm by no means an expert. You'll probably hear me say I don't know a lot if you guys are asking me like very direct questions. I'm very quick to say I don't know if I don't know something, but I do know that when you do like a nitride finish, for instance, it impregnates the surface of the steel or the metal, whatever it is, and it makes it a lot harder. That's a very like caveman way of explaining how nitride works, but like I think the actual finish matters, the actual material matters, the quality control matters, but the finish I think matters a lot more for like cleaning purposes and lubricity and like being able to quickly wipe something down in the field, or like so that it can, like the sand cutters, like the sand cutter. I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about. The sand cutter rails on some of these BCGs that are coming out, like, do those actually work? Good question. I think that a lot of people who had a lot more time who designed these products probably found a benefit in it, and that's why they're pushing it. But I don't think any of civilians have a firing schedule that would really bring those advantages to light. You know what I mean? Like, what's more important for me is the most important thing is always reliability for me. Like the first thing I'm worried about is reliability. If it's a gun, if it's some crazy like 2011 that's like $6,000 and it doesn't work every time I pull the trigger, like I'm throwing it down, I'm getting rid of it. Like that's the number one thing is reliability within reason, obviously. Like you got to clean your 2011s more than you clean your Glock 19s and whatnot, but within reason. So I mean, to answer your question, I think yes, and I also don't know how much it matters. I think it does matter. I think that if you have a decent quality finish, like they're all pretty decent. I don't know what much about phosphate finishes. I know a lot of companies are going to, a lot of people have been using nitride. A lot of companies have been going to a DLC, and a lot chrome's been around for forever too. So I would just kind of stick with the ones that have been around and well known and well respected for working for a while. And I mean, a lot of people, including myself, will shit on mil spec. However, what mil spec kind of shows us is that if it works for the military and these guys who literally these are work guns for them, they don't they don't take good care of them. For instance, that they're being really used and abused. And if it works with their guns, it's probably going to work with your gun when when you take care of it and you shoot it and you clean it when you shoot it. And I'm very guilty of not cleaning my guns very much recently. But let's see. I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, no problem, bro. I don't know if that was even for me, cheesy gordita crunch. I love you, bro. TBH, a PCC or shotgun is better, especially if you got kids in the house, your wife and partner. Okay, we're gonna tackle this right now. Are we gonna tackle the home defense question, because this is gonna become a very spicy boy topic? Okay. First of all, pray to God I never have to defend my home, but if I have to, I have to. And what I'm going to be using to defend my home is the best tool for the job, because I'm not choosing when I'm going to be attacked or my family's going to be attacked, right? So I'm going to be using the best tool for the job. And for me, again, just some random dude on the internet, don't listen to anything I say. For me, an AR-15 is by far the best tool for the job for multiple reasons, and I'll just run through them right now, okay? Number one reason it's best tool for the job is that I know it has better capability at putting bad guys down and hitting the off switch on a bad guy. Number one. So it's going to hit the off switch quicker. Number one, I'm much more accurate with it. And I would argue anyone who actually shoots and trains with a rifle is more accurate with an AR-15 than they are with a pistol, or they're lying to themselves, or they are, I don't know, maybe they're one-handed. Okay. If that's the case, get you a pistol brace. Okay. But jokes aside, like I'm more accurate with it. I have a larger capacity. It has a better propensity for putting the off button, flipping that off button on. And also, contrary to popular belief, from everything that I've seen, from all the evidence that's been presented to me, whether by myself or by other folks, it is going to be the absolute best for not over penetrating walls when you're using the right ammo. And no matter what kind of home defense caliber or rifle or gun or handgun or shotgun you're using, you should be using something that is designed for self-defense or home defense, so that it does not continue to over penetrate and go through wall after wall. I'm not talking about using M855A1 steel core penetrator bullets in my 5.56 gun. Absolutely not. But a smaller bullet, like a 77 grain bullet traveling at 2,500 feet per second, avid 11.5. If I just had 5 walls in a row, like Rantham just did this video on his channel not too long ago, it proved again in real life, like he set up actual 2 spec walls, shot a 9mm through it, and then shot a 5.56 through it, and the 9mm went further. It's just physics. It's a larger bullet. It's traveling slower. It's not going to break up and fragment like a 5.56 would in sheetrock. It's going to go through less. So again, hot take, whatever you want to say. That's me. I don't know where I was going with that. I'm half-assed reading these comments. I'm trying not to spend my whole time like being down here in the comment section, but so for the longer comments, it's a little bit hard for me to. So what ammo is best for home defense? Guys, again, I don't know shit, but what I like to have, what I have in my gun is Hornady Critical Duty 55 grain. My URGI 14.5 printed like a 0.3, like a 3/4 inch group at 100 yards with it. Don't know why. It's a 1-in-7 twist barrel. My gun absolutely love that stuff. So all my home defense guns, like all my home defense guns that are in rotation, there's really 3. I make it sound like there's like 7. Well, I guess if you count the 14.5 URGI, it was in there for a while, but I've mostly moved to my 11.5s now. The Spear LT or the URGI at home. Really, it's the Spear LT or the Super Duty, are the two, but they are loaded up with the Hornady Critical Duty 55 grain. Again, and just know your home's layout. Like the way my home's laid out, like the ground's gonna be my backstop for an ideal situation or an unideal situation. everyone I care about and love is in my room currently because my baby's still small enough she stays in the room with us. So, anyways, I know where the people in my house are, and they're going to be behind me. So, damn, I guess I got about 11.5. Yeah, I mean, so I don't know, I'm reading something about acid and mud. I'm just getting a little sidetracked. My ADHD is kicking in. Um, yeah. So, any other like specific questions you guys have for me? Lay them on me. Right now is the time. I want to do a lot more of these. If you guys start to enjoy these, if enough people start to watch them, I really love feeling like it's really awkward just talking to a camera, but when you're actually interacting with folks, it's a lot cooler. I don't know why I'm saying folks. I never say folks. Maybe because I'm nervous right now because this is like my first real live. Um, Dawn dish soap. Yeah, I use a variety of shit, but really lately I don't even use a cleaner. I just put this shit all over it and then wipe it down, and then once it's wiped clean, I'll like put more of this stuff. But there's a ton of stuff. Like the Maple Leaf Firearms guys swear by the slip stuff. I think it's called slip something. Slip. I don't know where it is, but they gave me a little bottle of it, sent me home with it. Somebody comment down below, let me know what kind of. I think it's like slip. There's different types of slip, but they swear by that stuff. Yeah, Remington makes a good cleaner. You use blue Lucas oil for lube. Yeah. Thanks, Cheesy Gordita Crunch. You the man, dude. You've always been there for me in the past. You really have been at the late nights. You've been there for me. I appreciate that. But yeah, what else can we talk about, guys? We haven't talked about the 7PRC very much. So let's talk about that trip I had out to RPR. Yeah, Slip 2000 and Go Juice, all you need. So I have the Go Juice experience from what Geisley ships with their triggers. So that's the only Go Juice I've actually ever used, but it's good stuff. It is kind of paralyzing when you're at the gun shop. And I actually did a whole deep dive into this not that long ago and watched this guy's video about. I mean, he like did a ton of different tests about like the lubricity and what is the best gun oil, pretty much. And what he came up with, and at one point, I had my Aero Precision AEM or AEM 5308 had a stainless steel barrel, and underneath the handguard, it was like rusting. So I came to the conclusion, and if I put oil on it, shit would just stick to it. Like it would just get gunked up with stuff. So I came to the conclusion that this Hornady One Shot, it's like a dry lube, is great for that application. If you have like a stainless steel barrel, coating it with some of this, because it dries dry. And so like it leaves a dry, residue-less, like slick film essentially, but it'll protect it from rust and all kinds of stuff. So I actually like this stuff. I don't know how many people have experience with it. Hopefully YouTube is paying you for this live. They're throwing the 3 or 4 ads already. Oh, damn. I didn't know that. Well, if they're throwing ads in, then hopefully, yes. My last one was demonetized, like almost 99% of the videos on my channel. That's why supporting me over at Brownells is a really big help, guys, because yeah, YouTube, once my channel started doing well, I think they realized like what I was doing. And for a while, it was too small for them to even notice. And then like the revenue just went right all the way off a cliff. But I was going to talk about the 7PRC, that long range experience recently, because Ohio, same, really nice. Oh, you guys are pretty far behind, it sounds like, some of you guys at least, if you're just getting the Ohio part now. Anyways, long range portion of the video, or let's talk about that 7mm PRC that I have from Remington. It's the Remington Waypoint 2020. Sorry, Remington. I'm talking about Springfield. I'm so sorry. Springfield sent me their Waypoint 2020, and it is a really awesome rifle. What I didn't realize until I watched the footage was, I mean, I felt the recoil, but when I watched the footage, I realized like how much that gun jumps after I shoot it. It is a very, very lightweight gun. I'm also running the Eneric Armament Lux on there, which is really, really lightweight, 9.9 ounces for this full titanium suppressor. So it's a longer suppressor for sure. It's not like a short king, but it performed phenomenally well on the 7mm PRC. So yeah, huge fan of this thing. So I was shooting without ears the whole time. And at the end of like 50 or 60 rounds of 7PRC, I had a very slight ring in the ear with this can. So, I mean, every single round I shot on without ears on, because I shot every single round suppressed, performed phenomenally well. I'm very impressed with this can. I'm not just saying that because I work for them. I actually want to buy one of these for myself, because if I ever part ways with them, this goes with them. So I'm definitely going to end up buying one of these while I can still get that employee discount, because I really, really enjoyed this thing. It's just incredibly lightweight. I did a video on their YouTube channel, which reminds me, if you guys want to support me as well over there on Energetic's website or on their channel, I would greatly appreciate it. So give Energetic Armament a follow or a subscription rather on YouTube. That'd be awesome. So anyways, long story short, what I find out. So I was waiting for Brownells to send me the chronograph and the rangefinder from Vortex. So I got the Garmin chronograph and the Vortex Impact, not the Impact, the Razor 4000 rangefinder. So it's not the one that mounts on top of the scope. I would have loved to get that one, but it's pretty expensive. So Brownell sent me the cheaper handheld one. Nothing wrong with it. But I couldn't get my ballistics app to work. I'm using Applied Ballistics because I have the new Garmin Tactics Pro 7 watch here, which has Applied Ballistics built into it. So I can see a range card on here. And in theory, I should be able to just look at my watch and be able to get my dope immediately, dial it, and then make a shot. But Applied Ballistics just was not calculating the dope correctly. In fact, with the Applied Ballistics mill, like it said 7.5 mils up, and I went 7.5 mils up, and I was like 3 or 4 feet above the target at 1,000 yards. So pretty substantial difference in what the chart was telling me versus what was happening in reality. I was using the exact, I double, triple checked all the inputs, guys. I could be wrong, but my buddy put it into his app. I think it's Ballistic Arc. I can't remember exactly what app he uses. He put it into his app and got like a much closer answer to what it actually was. It was around like 6.2 or 6.3 mils, if I can remember. So it was almost a full mil off, or over a full mil off with the Applied Ballistics app on the Garmin. And his was much closer. Like it said like 6.6 or 6.5, but it was still even less than that. So it was just very strange. I don't know why I had the exact velocity input into the ballistic app. So that was a bit frustrating. It took me a long time. And also that waypoint, that Springfield waypoint, is as awesome as that rifle is. It is super lightweight because it's meant for that like hunting / like couple shots application, not like shooting all day long range. So it's very lightweight. So with that, the recoil becomes a lot, and it becomes a lot to keep trying to pull clean shots after. Like my pec was just like spazzing out after the range, because I mean it was getting beat up. Right, it's a lot of recoil. 7.5 pound gun, I think, 7.8 pounds, something like that, without a scope on it. Had the Arkin 5 to 35 on there, which weighs almost, it feels like it weighs almost as much as the gun. It's a pretty heavy scope. But then this 9.9 ounce can, which did dramatically help with the recoil, but just that gun is just super light. So after having multiple misses at range, not getting my ballistic calculator, I could not figure out what was wrong with it. Inputs all looked good to me. And so eventually I got a couple hits at 1,000, not as many on the smaller plates. Like I was going for like a 6-inch or 8-inch plate, but got a couple hits at 1,000. I was like, all right, I'm going to call it, because I spent like $250 worth of ammo shooting that, just to miss a bunch of times in a lot of cases at the long range. But we did do accuracy testing. We chronoed all the ammo and stuff. So we got a bunch of usable data, but I got to figure out what was wrong with my Applied Ballistics apps and go back, because I would really love to do the 1 MOA at 1,000 yards challenge from Texas Blinking. He's here locally in Texas. So I DM'd him a while ago. So if you're watching this, hit me back, bro. I'm training. Right now, if I went and showed up, it would be embarrassing, but I'm going to try to continue to go train and get cold bore first round impacts and really train that once I could figure out the Applied Ballistics app. But long range, especially at a very small, like a 6-inch or a 12-inch plate at 1,000 yards is a small target. So I hit both the man-sized targets, relatively easily, and then tried to continue hitting the smaller ones and just couldn't pull them in. So we're gonna keep going back and learning more and more. But I think we got some more comments here. You ever gonna get an LMT? Let me go back before I answer that one. Okay, let's see here. 6 arc, 8.6 blackout. Okay, 6 arc or 8.6 blackout. So I have zero experience with either of those calibers. If I had to be honest, like which one I would be most excited for, if you gave me a stack of cash to buy one, I'd probably get the Geisley 6 arc to begin with, because I like the size. I like that it's capable of reaching out to 1,400 yards in a relatively small compact platform, like in a recce size gun. I really like that aspect of it. 8.6 blackout just seems like another like I hate to use the word offensive or defensive type gun because like a gun could be used for whatever, obviously, but 86 Blackout just seems like more like that subsonic 300 Blackout application where it's like, when are you really gonna be running this? Like if you're sneaking into someone's house, maybe and you don't want to get caught, maybe I guess I'm not promoting this. Don't strike me down. But like, when is 86 Blackout? And someone could very easily like school me right here, but I like a flat shooting caliber. I'm not really a guy who's like, I need the quietest thing in the world. Like, again, I want a flat shooting lethal caliber. I'm worried about knockdown power and it shooting flat and not having some outrageous hold and not having it be affected by the wind. And so, from what I understand, granted, I don't know jack about anything. I understand that the 6 ARC is kind of that wonder caliber that fixes all the problems that 5.56 has, besides like the scale and volume, obviously. But the A6 just looks to me like a bigger 300 Blackout, which again, I love 300 Blackout. It's a really fun can, especially for new shooters. Really fun to shoot subs suppressed. But I don't look at that gun like a serious gun, I guess. Which that might just be my perspective and my worldview regarding that caliber. So there it is. But since you asked, um, yeah, I would really like to get the Geisley. Appreciate everybody praying for you as well. Is everyone okay? Well, prayers for everyone who's not okay. Hopefully I didn't miss a comment there. Let's see here. You ever gonna get an LMT? Let's talk about it. Yeah, I would love to get an LMT, guys. But I just had a baby like a year and a month ago, so it's going to be increasingly difficult to get anything for the channel. So right now, if you want to support the channel, you can head on over to brownells.com and use bro code RDB10, and that will go directly toward my Get Range Day Bro and LMT fund. I have a buddy who has one who I'm sure, well, he is moving to Dallas pretty soon, but I'm sure he would let me borrow it for review. But again, just the nature of the way I like to do reviews, and also just even the real talks. Like I like to have a lot of experience to come to the table with it, not just like, hey, I had one day at the range with it. And this same friend, he really would probably give me the rifle for multiple weeks or as long as I wanted it. But I just feel bad taking the guy's gun for that long, so I don't want to do that to him. But yeah, I would love to have an LMT. I would really love an LMT. So, what area do you live in Texas? I live in the Austin area, right outside of Austin to the west. What we talking about tonight, Dad? Gray Dad Gear. We're talking about whatever you want to, bro. Just ask whatever questions you want. I got nothing but non-answers for you. Nerding out about caliber right now, barrel length, manufacturers. How you doing? Okay, you guys got a little conversation going. I love it. Brownells has LMT now. Also, I live in the Houston area. It's the Spec War. So Brownells has a Spec War on their website. I'm about to hit them up about that. So that might be a little bit too high, too expensive in the budget for them to send that to me. That's kind of how to convince them to send me that Spear LT 300 Blackout because it was above the normal value of what they send out to creators. But so they didn't send me anything for 6 months because of that. So I just passed my 6-month probation period. So I'm back on their good graces and they're sending me stuff again. But I don't think asking for a Spec War would would put me back on their good side again. Oh no, you have a Spec War. Okay. You. Yeah, they look fucking awesome, dude. Hit up Jester King Brewery, best fucking vibes. And yeah, I've been there actually. Really good brewery for pizza. Not a huge fan of sour beers, and they have a bunch of that there. So I'm more like a Hefeweizen wheat beer kind of guy. So, but Jester King's cool, good vibes. It was really hot when I went. Sponsor question: if Brownell sponsors you, do they allow you to talk about buying gear from other places online, or will they drop you? No, I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. And actually had this conversation earlier with another manufacturer who I'm considering doing business with, and I was like, they're like, yeah, well, if we sign on with you, you know, yada yada. Like they said something about like clones of their products. I'm like, yeah, I would never sell a clone of your product, but I don't ever do exclusive deals. So like that's a deal breaker for me. So I want to be able to talk about what I want, when I want, even with Energetic. When I talked to these guys about coming on board and taking over the YouTube channel, I was very plainly like, hey, I own other suppressors. I'm not going to throw them in the trash. Like if they're on a gun that I'm reviewing, I'm going to talk about it briefly. But for my own animosity, for my own authenticity, I am not going to review suppressors while I'm working for them for clear conflict interest reasons. I mean, they're paying me a literal paycheck. So I'm going to talk about their stuff and what I like about it. And I'll even talk about what I don't like about it. Honestly, they appreciate that, and that's why I think they came to me. I think that's what attracted them to me for that role. So yeah, I don't Brownells can, I mean, hope not, but if they do want to drop me because I'm talking about Battlehawk Armory or, Primary Arms, whoever it is, then so be it. But I highly doubt they would do that. So let's see here. We'll use it for hunting mostly. Okay, that's, you guys are having your own conversation down there. I love it. I love it. Get in there, chat it up. Now you're getting into nods. Got to ask you, what laser did you invest in, or you recommend the Raid because it's your favorite so far? So, yeah, I've worked, and a sponsor of the channel is Downrange Thermal. So if you guys want to support the channel, head over to Downrange Thermal and use bro code RDB5, saves you 5% off over there. Give me some feedback on that too. I don't know if that code's been doing very well, and those guys over there, I think it might just be priced a little bit high, but yeah, let me know. Let me know down in the comments. Like, spill the beans. Anyways, my buddy over there, Drew, White Shoe Drew, really, really loves the Raid, and he has a ton of more. He has like literal hours and hours and probably months worth of like using nods and using lasers and stuff. And he recommends the Raid. So that says a lot to me. I do have rather a Steiner CQBL from them here on one of my guns, and it's okay. I mean, from everyone that I've talked to, the full power lasers, because I know a lot of guys obsessed over getting full power lasers as well, and myself included. Like, I was kind of obsessed with, like, I want the cool guy full power, but it's like you can't even use full power. Like, it's way too bright. It just washes out whatever you're looking at. The other thing about lasers, and this is something, again, hot take, much like I said, nods are trash. If you're going to get nods, or you're going to buy a nod or whatever you're going to do, don't buy a laser. I mean, buy a riser, be able to passively aim. The Taliban has night vision now, so passive aiming is better anyways. And then save that money you would have invested in a laser for a clip-on thermal device, which is going to be far better in my opinion. I don't think, like, I think that with the risers and the optics and the night vision and the helmets and everything that we have nowadays, easy for me to say. I'm not a door kicker who uses night vision regularly. Okay, full disclosure. Once again, don't take anything I say seriously. But for me today, it's like, why spend money on a laser? You can buy a Vampire for an illuminator for like $350. Have an illuminator if you want, but you really should be just shooting passively if you can help it. So, and then save that money for a clip-on thermal. I mean, those iRay clip-on thermals, I just think they're the coolest fucking thing ever. I really want to get my hands on an iRay. I RH25, I think it is. There's like $4,000, something like that. But to be able to slap a little thermal device in front of the 1:8 or 1:10 or whatever optic, whatever LPVO I want to, and now have night vision on my Scar 17, and now have night vision on this. I know there's some zeroing and stuff to it, but like, you can just slap it on, slap it off. I think that's amazing, and I think that if I can do it perfectly this time, I won't buy a laser. I'll just go straight to a clip-on thermal. So I don't know. Hopefully that wasn't a non-answer. Thanks for the info. I'm going to get one soon though. Kind of hard to find from what I can tell. Not sure what we're referring to there, Martin, but let's move on here to Great Ad Gear. Been good, brothers. Just cleaning up with the kids while the wife is down with the flu. Sorry, hope she feels better, bro. All right. What ammo do you use in your Geisley uppers? What are like best, most accurate? Okay. Geisley uppers like AAC ammo. Again, hate to say it, I'm not trying to promote AAC, but they are the cheapest good ammo you could find. And by good, I mean it's accurate, it's relatively consistent. It's not like hand load consistent, but it's more consistent than Black Hills. Just saying, don't get mad at me. Don't shoot the messenger. And it's like 55 cents a round. So you literally could stockpile it. That's like cheap for today. As far as from what I'm looking for, I've never seen a boat to hollow point or open tip match 77 grain bullet for less than like 62 to 68 cents a round. But that's today. So I think it's probably gonna get worse. Yeah, guys, he does do big sales. Thanks, Chris Savage. Thermals are the truth, my brother. Gotta say, you're the reason I finally built out a market team running a Knights PRT can on it, and it's phenomenal. I see the hype behind the quad rails. Yeah, dude, quad rails are pretty sick. Quad rails are pretty sick. As far as Trijicon goes, I think that Trijicon is cool. I reached out to them to get a sample of their new Credo 1-10 because, again, I am on a spending freeze for the channel because just had a baby and whatnot. But they wouldn't send me one, and the guy was like, he didn't say this, but this is what he said and his response is, "We're Trijicon. We don't need you. Like, get out of my face, you little ant on the wall," is the vibe I got from them. And let's just say they're dead to me. No, I'm just kidding. But I still love their pistol optics. I still love my Credo 1-8. The reticle sucks, but it's not nearly as good as the Attacker reticle or the Vortex, the Vortex reticle, or even the Arkin 1-8 reticle. The Aztec reticle is better than just not having any wind holds whatsoever. But it's decent glass for a decent price. I guess you could say it's around the EOTech price point, maybe a little bit cheaper. The Voodoo 1-10 has a way better reticle than it too. But Trijicon, like, I like their pistol. I like their SRO. I like the RMR. Like, I really like those two optics. The ACOG is, it's cool. It's a vibe. Like, not my favorite. Like, Night Force Attacker all day. EOTech Voodoo all day. Love that thing, but I don't even know how we got on this topic. Being very front heavy in the front of the rifle with all the toys. What I find is a lot of guys talk about their rifles' weight being very front heavy on the front with the rails. Yeah, I mean, it is so easy to say hit the gym, and it really has nothing to do with the gym. The war of the weight on the front of the rifle has nothing to do with the gym. I've been a gym rat for my whole life. Granted, I'm new dad, been slacking lately, but I've always been very like powerlifting, very strong, and that is a different type of strength. Holding your rifle up for hours, or even seconds, even like 30 seconds to hold your rifle up with a suppressor and a light on the front, nothing crazy. It's extremely exhausting. It's a different type. It's a stamina. It's not a like hit the gym, get stronger. I honestly, because I've said that too. Like, I'm like, hey, hit the gym, bro. But it has nothing to do with like your powerlifting strength. It's like way more about like the dudes who can hold the beer steins out for like 30 minutes. Those are the guys who can hold a rifle up, a heavy front end rifle for a while. But I mean, how often are you really holding the gun up? Like, even if you're at the range doing low ready or high ready, like, the gun's slung most of the time. It's slung, or maybe it's in a low ready or in a high ready, and like you can kind of relax a little bit, and it's not really all in that front left delt there, like when you're shooting, or if you're like on a barricade. So I get it. Like, it's really, for me, it's more about like rucking or walking. I've never done any like true rucking, I guess you could say. I've never like put on a backpack, put on a plate carrier, taken my rifle and hiked 20 miles. I want to do it. I think that'd be beneficial, actually, like very beneficial to find out hot spots and whatnot. But I've never done it. But yeah, I think that it is a cop out to say, like, hit the gym, bro. Because look, like, just going back to the Spear LT argument, like, the direct impingement system is just going to be simply going to be lighter. And does that matter? Yeah, like for a sustainment type engagement, for any engagement besides we are the badasses kicking your door in or fucking raiding this, like we got a fucking Black Hawk dropping us off and we got this mission and we're fucking in and out. Okay, then it doesn't matter as much because you're in and out. You got a 20-minute op. You fucking go in, you breach, you're in, you clear the building. Okay, it's over. Like, that's what I mean by offensive, right? You're going with a team, you have comms. That's in those scenarios, the weight doesn't matter nearly as much as like a recce rifle or like a rifle that's a general purpose rifle that, like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to get into. Like, I can see, you don't know how long you're going to be out. You don't know how long, any of that. That's when like shaving that weight would really help, I think. So for offensive missions, take a 50 cal. You can do whatever you want with it. Let's see here. SRO is bad compared to new Sig's new shit. Okay, maybe. I haven't tried Sig's new stuff, but I like the SRO. Let's see. Congrats on the baby. I don't like 1-10s, but the Attacker is good for the weight and the price. The Credo 1-6 was great. Yeah, Credo 1-6. I've heard Brass and Hops take on those, and they bring up a really good point. For second focal plane, it's great glass. I don't have experience with it, but I've looked through them. They look great. It's hard for me to get the gym as a father. Yeah, dude. I need to get. So here's the thing about living in Texas, and I'm making excuses again, but it is brutally hot in the summer, and actually, it's still brutally hot right now. Like, it's like summer should be over, but I need to be better or get an air conditioner for the garage or do something so that I can do it from home and not be so just like because it's all about momentum. It's all about like if you can get in the gym today, get in the gym tomorrow. The second you break that momentum, it becomes very hard to rebuild it. And yeah, ask me how I know. I've been up and down my weight. I've gone from like 205 to 275, 285 over like back and forth probably like 3 or 4 times in the last 8 years, which is not good for your body, but it's just tough for me to keep it off. My body, like if I don't really try to diet and watch what I eat, I just get like my body wants to be like 255, 260 is where it wants to stay. I don't know how big I look on camera, but yeah, I'm 6'1". I played offense and defensive tackle like through high school. Um, and I think a lot of people think I'm smaller than I am because like I'm not standing next to anybody when I'm on camera. But then they see the gun in my hand. I guess it might put it into perspective for them. Uh, by the way, RDB, the 12.5 LMT barrel by itself weighs 7 pounds. Wow. I do know that my buddy's LMT barrel that he got from, it was a Ballistic Advantage barrel that D. Wilson cut down for him. I do know that it is like a super thick barrel profile. It does not have the dimpling on it. Like he wanted them to do dimpling. They wouldn't do it, even though D. Wilson does make their own dimpled barrels for LMTs, I believe. But that's crazy. That's a crazy stat. 7 pounds for the barrel. That's insane. Thank God's getting another 60s at night. Yeah, for real. Yes. Hopefully it stays. It keeps just getting cooler and cooler, man. I think I covered most of what you guys are talking about. VCOG. I also bought my own VCOG 1.8 over using the issued attacker because the reticle for work ones are dog shit. What are work attackers reticles? That's a question because I just looked through a VCOG that was consignment at my local gun store, and I was like, "Oh, pretty good." Still doesn't have wind holds. Still doesn't have wind holds, but it had the horseshoe and the little drops. It's I think it's I guess you could say it's like slightly better than the Credo 1.8. I actually can't even remember if it had. I think it did have 4 Stadia coming in, but stay blessed, boys. Yeah, fucking dads out here. Dads unite, dude. Our rifles are heavier than our babies. Our rifles are our babies. No, I'm just kidding. But my wife does accuse me sometimes of loving my rifle more than I love her. And sorry, babe. What do you want me to say? No, I'm just kidding. If you're watching this, I did not mean that. No, I'm just kidding. She's definitely not watching this. She does not watch my content, which is probably for the best. But anyways, guys, it's getting pretty late. It looks like we've been going about an hour now. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Any final questions you guys have for me, let me know right now. I'll try to run through them one more time, but I'll give the whole spiel real quick. So if you guys do want to support the channel, liking, commenting, subscribing, because after this video posts, all these comments you guys have right now, they disappear as far as I know. And so like, if you want to come back and give it another watch, I would greatly appreciate that. Share the video out there. If we get enough people, watching these, liking these, commenting, we can do these more often. I really enjoy this. I really do. I hope it comes across to you guys. But if you guys do want to support the channel, Brownells RDB10 over there, we'll save you guys 10% off an order of $150 or more. It also supports the channel, obviously. So I like that option because I can offer you guys a website where you can buy anything. I'm not pushing any one particular brand or product or manufacturer. You can buy whatever you want from Brownells, which is awesome. Ammo, gunsmithing tools, guns. And so, yeah, I would love it if you guys could use the link in the description and support those guys and use my code RDB10. Also, RDB5 over at Downrange Thermal. We have 2 other codes I'll mention that I don't get kickbacks for. One of them is RDB10 over at Samson Manufacturing. I just had a whole video. I talked about those guys. They make some pretty cool stocks and vertical foregrips and stuff like that. And then Range Day Bro 25 saves you guys $25 off over at the guys with MapleLeafFirearms. So again, don't get any kickback for those 2 codes, those last 2, but they're cool companies and I like them, and it'll save you guys some money if you're interested in using their services rather. How do you decide on the channel name? There's a previous comment. Okay, how do I decide the channel name? Sorry, I don't even know if I read your previous comment, brother. I mean, I started this channel before I even decided to make content. I kind of had decided, I was like, oh, I'm going to make it eventually. And then I just pussied around because I was like, oh, I don't want to know what I got. Like, I don't know if I know enough to talk about this. I don't know if, I just kind of like let fear like get a hold of me for 2 years pretty much during COVID. And I was like, especially because COVID was going on, everyone was real sus. And people still act weird. like COVID's over, but people are still acting very strange. Like you notice that, like you put a dog in a crate for 2 years, it's going to come out a different dog than it was if it had freedom, right? And so a lot of people are just acting strange. And I know a lot of people here in Texas, like myself included, we didn't lock down for 2 years, but a lot of people did. A lot of people did, and they're still in their brains are still locked down. So, anyways, I just said, let me just pick a name. I'm going to start a channel today, and then I created the channel and didn't post anything for like 2 years. And so I was like going back and forth about starting a new one. And eventually one day I was like, screw it. Today's the day. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to get my iPhone out. I'm going to talk about my Mark 18. And it is the cringiest video on my channel. A lot of my videos, like if I watch my videos, I think a lot of them are cringe because I don't know. I'm my own biggest critic, I guess. But that video is definitely cringe. That first video, I'm just like sitting on a stool. Like I don't know what to do with my hands. It's really awkward. And so yeah, that is how I named the channel. I just like picked. Also, like I like that it was like, hey, I'm just your average range day bro. Like I'm just like any of you out there. Like I'm not military law enforcement background. I'm just a dirty civilian, but that was taken already. Which big shout out to Dirty Civilian. Love that channel. But yeah, it's just like, hey, I'm your average range day bro. Doesn't have to be too serious. Doesn't have to be too silly. It's just like, hey, just a regular guy who loves guns and loves reviewing shit. So let's see. SOCOM issued ones with a Tremor 3. Okay. Tremor 3 on the attacker. Okay. On the 1 to 8 attacker, that's news to me. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. I'll probably forget what you said previously. BDC for 5.6, 308, 6.5. BDC with different aiming points is retarded. Okay. Fair enough. I'm not a huge fan of BDC reticles either. Anyone know how to get a Sig Spear muzzle device off without breaking the barrel? Yeah, I got mine off by taking the handguard off completely, using some leather like this right here I got from my local gun store, putting some leather in your vise and clamping down using the leather on the gas block. And this is not a professional advice here. So don't, if you damage your gun, do not cite my video as a source. But what I did was I put it in a vise with some leather so I wouldn't scratch up the gas block, and then I just heated it up like with a torch. And then, granted, I did this at my local gun shop, but I would recommend getting a reaction rod. A reaction rod would be way better than doing what I did. But what I did was that I heated it up and it broke loose and came right off with a torch for about like, I don't know, 3 minutes, just going around it constantly, got it hot enough. But a reaction rod would be way better than doing that because you can risk damaging the gas block if that's the case. Just broke mine with a leather trick. You didn't disclaimer fast enough. Funny. That was actually a good one, bro. That'll only be for the people watching it live. That'll be funny. All right, guys. I think that's going to be it. Thank you so much for stopping by. As always, I love you guys. Crisis King, drink water. And let me know in the comments, like when after this video is posted, the live goes live or whatever, all your comments will disappear. Please come back on and let me know at a later time because I don't know if I'll be able to even see these comments afterwards. What you want to see for the next one or any ideas that you have or any feedback that you have for me. This is a brand new lighting setup. I hope you guys like it. So I just invested in another light for the studio. I think it kind of gives it a really cool hue, and I could change that color. I can make it red or whatever. I just thought the blue looked nice. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, what you want to see, if you like the lights. And yeah, love you guys. Take care. Talk to you soon.